Welcome to the Weekend Outdoorsman podcast, where our mission is to keep traditions alive, fueled by a passion for the outdoors. Whether you're a bow hunter, fisherman, or just love the outdoors, then this is the podcast for you. Our aim is to help inspire you to keep any traditions you may have alive, as well as create new ones. Any moment can be a learning experience, so we hope that you'll learn as much as we will through the guests we bring on here. Hopefully we can bring you the right information that can help you seal the deal on that big bull, buck, or whatever game you're chasing. So sit back in traffic, the office, or on the way to a hunt and enjoy. What up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're bringing a special guest on board, a good college buddy of mine. His name's Aaron Gettys, also known as AG, aka G Money. Just depends on who you are and how well you know Aaron. But the reason I'm bringing this guy on board is he got to go on his first mule deer hunt out west with his dad in Utah. So I really wanted to talk to him about that and the tradition that him and his dad just started, something that they created and that they intend to do for years to come. So part of the reason we're getting him on board is to talk about that. We're going to talk archery hunting, we're going to talk whitetail deer hunting in Texas, and we're even going to dive into mountain lions a little bit. I know some of y'all are probably thinking that's kind of off kilter for us a little bit, but Aaron's got a really good story for us. And if you want to check him out on Instagram, his handle is _Aaron Gettys. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive right on into this one, guys, and we hope y'all enjoy.
I'm glad this is audio only, so I don't have to look at you the whole time.
I could turn the video on if you want me to.
I said I don't want to look at you.
Fine. I'll keep that shit off.
Just kidding, bro. You want to look at me? We can do it that way.
I don't want to look at your ugly mug.
Yeah, you do.
All right, what's up, everybody? We got Mr. AG, Aaron Gettys, in the house tonight. Aaron and I go back quite a ways. We go back to college days, right? And Aaron actually just got back from a mule deer hunt in Utah, so we're going to kind of pick his brain on that, find out how that went for him. But real quick, I just want Aaron, why don't you give us, everybody, a 30,000-foot view of who Mr. AG is?
30,000 feet. That's high. Man, I'm just kind of a younger guy. I'm 25. Been hunting probably half of my life now, a good 10 years, 10, 12 years. Just love everything about hunting. Want to go on as many adventures in as many places as I can. And I'm just trying to figure my way through all of that. And I'm a business owner, trying to combine owning a business with my expensive hobby in hunting. Just trying to figure out my path through life, I guess.
Who got you started with hunting? I don't think I've ever asked you this.
So it really started with my grandfather, my mom's dad. He is a big hunter. He lives in Michigan, and he goes to Canada and has hunted black bears a lot. He's been quite a few places hunting. And I remember growing up with him, when we would go to their house, I used to always want to wake up early in the morning and watch hunting shows with him. He was a big Jim Shockey fan, and in the early days of the Tom Miranda Adventure Bow Hunter. And so I would always want to wake up early and watch those hunting shows with him and to hear his stories about his bear hunts and stuff. And so, yeah, it was really him. And then because of that, I always felt like this weird kind of primal calling to hunting. I always felt like it was something that I wanted to do and wanted to try to do. And so I'd always try to consume as much of those old TV shows as I could. I think a lot of it started with my grandfather.
Sweet. Did you ever get to go hunting up in Michigan, or what was your first animal that you got? Was it a deer, turkey? What'd you get first?
So my first animal was a white-tailed doe. And I think I was in 7th grade.
A young buck.
7th grade, 7th. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was in 7th, I think 7th or 8th grade, middle school. Yeah. And I did go with him hunting in Michigan once. I guess I didn't go hunting with him. He went hunting and I was following behind him. which at the time was terrible because I was freezing cold. It was, it's Michigan. It was the wintertime. It was unbelievably cold.
Before the days of Sitka.
Exactly. Yeah. I was wearing jeans and a cheap Walmart hoodie. And I was like, dude, this sucks. I'm cold.
So you're guiding, right, on
Yep.
Buffalo Creek Ranch. How'd you get into that,
But,
and what are you doing for them?
oh man. So they, I got lucky. I'll say that. I picked a good significant other. So right after me and my girlfriend London started dating, her family had bought this ranch and moved out there just outside of the town that we live in. And so I'd been hunting before we had met. I'd hunted my whole life up until then. And so them getting the ranch was just like, icing on the cake for me. And so I hunted out there a few times, and I was able to shoot some does and shoot some pigs and just kind of hunt a little bit out there. And then they had decided that they wanted to try to expand and sell some hunts because they have some unbelievable whitetail genetics out there. And her father had a friend in town who was a professional hunting guide, and he came out there and was guiding some hunts and brought some of his clients. And I was just helping out. I was just being extra hands around, helping them. And then her dad and him kind of had a falling out a little bit. And he goes, "Dude, why don't you just do it for me?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, absolutely. Like that would be awesome." And so I basically handle all of the hunting operations. So our social media pages, our Instagram and our Facebook, I run both of those. I book all of the hunts. I guide all of the hunts. Um, Anything that revolves around hunting, as far as feeder times, filling the feeders, trail cameras, what deer gets killed, what animals we're looking to hunt, so on and so forth. Anything that involves hunting, I'm making those decisions on, except for price. I don't make decisions on prices.
So you can't get us out there for a good buck hunt?
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Weiler makes those decisions as far as money goes. I just say yes, sir, and then sell the hunts for what he wants.
Sounds like a good time though. I've
It
seen
is,
y'all.
man. I've gotten lucky. He's been generous enough to let me shoot a couple of deer out there, and luckily for me, again, because I don't have much money, and a young dude, he's let me trade hours of manual labor for shooting deer. So that's been awesome. Gotten to shoot
Sweet.
several real nice bucks out there now.
That sounds awesome. I've seen y'all kill some big bucks.
We've killed some giant deer.
And your girlfriend, she shot a buck bigger than you did, didn't she?
Dude, by a shit ton. Not even close. Not even playing the same game, dude. No, not even close.
You gonna beat her one day?
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
If I kill a deer bigger than that, I've done something right in my life, and God likes me.
What was the score of that deer? I've seen pictures of it, but how big was that thing?
Her deer was 224 and 3/4.
God dang.
It had 30 scoreable points and 3 drop tines.
Jeez. If you
And then the one that her dad killed was ridiculous.
I imagine. So I want to take a minute to kind of like transition away from deer for a minute. I know you're a big bow guy, and so you really like shooting Hoyt.
Yeah.
And I know you love your Hoyt. You're shooting the Helix Ultra right now.
Yes, sir.
So I've seen like the stuff you do on social media, and like you freaking drill it out to crazy distances. How did you get into bow hunting? Like, where did that start? Was that your grandpa, or is that just kind of something you picked up as you got older?
A little of both. And so my grandfather never really bow hunted. He is in Michigan, so they hunt with not a muzzle loader, but pretty much a muzzle loader. I forgot now what he uses a lot of. But my dad had shot archery. My dad had bow hunted a little bit, but never really got super into it. And then dude, I don't know how I pulled this off, but I got lucky to pick some incredible girlfriends in my life. And my girlfriend in high school, her dad is as legit of a bow hunter as there is on the planet. And I didn't realize that when we were dating until like when we were in high school. I didn't realize, like, I was like, oh yeah, he bow hunts, like he goes some places, whatever. But like it never really like dawned on me like just the level that he was at. But I'd always realized, like watching Tom Miranda's show or Jim Shockey's show and stuff when I was younger, like the real challenge of hunting is getting close shooting with a bow. Like to be the most badass hunter, you got to shoot him with a bow. And so that always just kind of like stuck with me. And the challenge of shooting a bow is something that's intriguing to me. Like picking up a rifle and shooting at 200 yards is not, you can do it like, you know, you can grab a gun and go shoot 200 yards and be like, oh yeah, I'm good. And you shot once the whole year.
Yeah.
But like picking up a bow and being able to shoot accurately at, 60, 75, 80 yards is serious time and effort. And so that I like that aspect to it.
I think I'm kind of the same way. I picked up bow hunting, I think I was 11 or 12 because of my dad.
Hmm.
And I liked it because, like you're saying, it's more of a challenge. You got to get on the animal that you're chasing, you got to get on their level. And, I think getting started out with hunting, a rifle's perfect for anybody, but then it's just the bow
Right.
presents that greater challenge. And, I mean, I have nothing against sitting up in a blind here in Texas chasing after deer in front of a feeder because that's part of who I am. That's what I grew up doing. That's what I love doing.
Sure.
I know there's going to be guys that are probably listening to this that are probably going to knock that, but that's a conversation for another day. But
Right.
that's what I love doing because it's still a challenge. You're not sitting 150 yards away from a feeder waiting for the deer to come in and just waiting to shoot him with the rifle. There's a lot of things that have to go right in order to get the right
Right.
shot with that bow. And
Oh yeah.
so with that, are you a tree stand tripod guy or you like being on the ground at their level?
Um, Both. And so I'll try to do whatever the situation allows. Again, in Texas, it's hard to hunt from a tree stand because we don't have any trees.
Unless you're in East
Um,
Texas.
and so yeah, oh yeah, that's true. In West Texas, where I'm at, all we have is cedar trees that are choking out oak trees. So it's hard to find good spots for tree stands or those tripod stands. So I'll use a mixture of those tripods or a pop up and be on the ground. Um, yeah, whichever one I've been successful doing both.
Same here.
Just whichever situation allows.
Yeah. I think when I first started hunting, it was like a mare step made like those little doghouse blinds. And
Yeah,
that's what I first started out in. Like you could barely even draw back in those things.
yeah, those things are small. Yeah, I've had that issue too. Like I'm a little bit taller and I shoot a little bit longer draw length. So some of those pop ups, I'm like having to shoot sideways or like lean way back and try to make them work.
Definitely. Um, on that Hoyt that you've got, what's your setup like? I know a lot of guys, they're shooting this and that, but what do you have on that Helix as far as accessory wise?
Ooh. Okay, so I shoot the trophy taker limb driven rest. Um, I found the most success with that. I've tinkered with some of the other ones. The cable driven ones kind of gave me fits, getting off with the timing and that string moving. And then I had one of the ones where there's like the screw on clamp around the cable, like rubbed the cable and started to fray the cable line and stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna go this limb driven, and it's been money. I've never had any issues with it since then. I shoot a spot hog,
You're a spot hug
fast
guy.
Eddie, the two pin, yeah. So I had originally I used to shoot a 4 pin fix, and it would always I drew back on a doe one time, and I used the wrong pin, and it always kind of messed with me with how much was going on in the housing. And then the whole single pin thing, I started becoming aware of that. I was like, I'm gonna give that a try. Just because the clutter of the multi pin always messed with my brain, and so that
Mhm.
single pin's just been money for me and allowed me to be real accurate and let my, I guess it's ADD, I don't know, my brain focus on one thing instead of
Yeah.
four. Um, and then I actually just got one of the new Shrewd Vantage stabilizers,
How do you like that
and I've been
thing?
shooting that. Dude, it's been money so far. I really, really like it. I wish I had. I'm a tinkerer though. I like to mess with stuff, but I wish I had more money to be able to buy more of that crap and mess with it. But so far, that thing's been money.
Now,
It's the
I
9 inch.
I know you and I've kind of had some like bantering back and forth on this. Why do you shoot a back tension over a thumb release?
Um, so I'd originally got a thumb release, and I had gotten pretty good with it, but I noticed myself starting to punch the trigger a little bit. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, how do I fix this? Right. Like I realized that it was a problem and I couldn't, punching the trigger is not the best way to be the most effective or the most accurate. And so I was like, well, how do I fix this? And I came across, using a hinge or a back tension. And so I was like, well, I'll give that a try. And so I shot a back tension for a while, and then I'd always trying to go back to my thumb, the thumb button.
Yeah.
And it was always the same thing. Like after like 50, 75, 100 shots, I noticed myself starting to punch again. And I was like, well, okay. And I tried to be better. And I just kept always wanting to punch. So then finally, it was probably about summer of last year. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to go back tension full time and see what happens. Um, and I haven't looked back. I haven't even picked up my thumb button since then.
So how do you like hunting with that thing? Because I know there's a lot of guys that they, you know, there's going to be, I don't know, what do we want to call these guys? What's a good name for them? Um, they're the guys that hop on social media and they just want to freaking push their opinion on everybody. What do you want to call them? Like sticker whiffers or
Oh
something?
yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah. I like that. Sticker whippers. There
Let's
we
call them
go.
sticker whiffers. There's those guys that'll
That's a
get
good
on
one.
there and be like, oh, you don't want to use that. You don't want to use that back tensioner, man, because you can't hunt with that, or you don't want to use that thumb release. Like, how have you found that thing? How have you found that back tension release in a hunting situation? Have you found it to be more efficient? Are you still slapping? Have you screwed up with it before? I mean, like, how do you like hunting with that thing?
So far it's been great. So last year I was able to shoot a pretty big buck. I shot a couple of does last year and then a good buck at the end of the season. And I noticed that with my back tension, I was not concerned or did not notice any sort of buck fever per se.
Hmm.
Right? Like I knew it was a good buck. I knew it was the buck that I wanted to shoot. But when it came time to shoot, I knew I was shooting my back tension. So I had to focus on my shot execution and not the deer itself. Like I knew I was like, okay, I got to get to my anchor. I got to center. Okay, now I have to pull through the shot and execute the shot. And I eliminated me thinking about, oh my God, it's a big buck. That's a big buck. Okay, shoot. I had to focus on my execution and not the deer itself.
Yeah,
So I think it helped me tremendously by eliminating part of that problem.
I like that. I think there's two things that you've gotten me on since we've been talking hunting more, like over what was it like the past year or two now, something like that. Um,
Yeah,
you, you
about
know,
probably a year and a half, 2 years.
yeah, I've always been a fixed blade guy, and then a thumb release. Like I shoot the Carter Wise Choice forefinger,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm gonna I'm probably gonna make the switch over to a back tension after this whitetail season before we go out to Arizona for mule deer. But
Mhm.
you've also changed my mind significantly on mechanicals. Like I know you've shot severs and I've seen the damage that those things have done. And so I ordered me four of those things. And as soon as
Mhm.
like I thought the real test, it's like, all right, we're gonna put this block out at 60. Let's see what happens. I'm pretty fairly accurate out at 60. So, dude, first shot, money. And so when I get out there I think we're probably going to go out to the farm here the next week or the weekend after, and we're just going to try and chase after a couple of bucks that are on the hit list. But I'm excited to see what those things are going to do. Um, and I've seen nothing but good things about those because when I used to guide out in West Texas, like there's these guys that are shooting the Rage Tripans and all these other different mechanicals.
Right.
And I'd stay up till freaking midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, tracking a deer because of poor shot execution or broadhead failure. But what what made
Right.
you go to sever? Like I know what made me was because of your testimony, but like what made you go to sever?
There was people that I trusted in the hunting industry who had suggested them. And so I had some interest in them, and then doing some more research, I liked the way they open. I like the rear deploy and not some of the broadheads, if you think about them being on the ferrule, will open out and then back instead of down and back. So I like the fact that they open down and back. And then there's a little axis inside of that ferrule that when those blades open, they actually lock open, but they can rotate around that point. So if you hit a rib, those blades are going to be locked together, but they'll still rotate to keep cutting. So you don't lose, you probably still lose some penetration versus like a fixed blade,
Yeah.
but because it rotates like that, it'll deflect and keep penetrating versus like a tri-pan or one of the other mechanicals where it's just that's it. Like it's open. If it hits it, it's stopping, or there's no those two blades work in unison around the ferrule and rotate. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. I do too. Just the quality of the build. I mean, you can just tell they're well made, and I love that they're direct to
Mhm.
consumer as well. I love that about them.
Yep.
It seems like there's a lot of companies that are
Mhm.
really transitioning to that. That it's kind of changing the retail game as well.
It really is. Yeah, a lot of those bigger companies are going to that. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I think was it First Light does that. Sitka's in retail. I'm trying to think who else.
Kuyu's direct to consumer.
Kuyu's direct to consumer. Um, Numa, that's a newer
Uh,
one. I
Maven's
think.
direct to
Yeah,
consumer.
Maven's direct to consumer. Numa is kind
Mhm.
of like they're mainly direct to consumer, but then they have very very few select retail locations. Like I think they're in a couple of Shield or they're in Shields, and then a few others. Um,
Right.
but I like that about companies. So
Yeah, it helps you as the consumer because it lowers their costs.
definitely. So what I kind of want to transition to next is you just got back from Utah with your dad on a mule deer hunt, right?
Yes, sir.
So I want to take a minute to kind of to go over that because one of the things that we really like to preach on this podcast is we're not subject matter experts. We're not going to act like we are because we're always learning. Like, sure, we've been deer hunting for 15, 20 years, but we can still learn. Especially, I mean, even you, even any outdoorsman, it's always going to be a learning experience going out in the woods, going hunting, any fishing trip, anything like that. So I kind of want to let the I want you to take over the mic for a minute and let the listeners hear in about why you wanted to go on this hunt in Utah, what the trip was like, and what you learned from it, what came out of it.
Ooh, okay. Um, so obviously, like any hunter, I have this desire and this instinct to be outside and to try new things. And so guiding hunts on this ranch in Texas, I've been around plenty of whitetail kills. I've seen guys kill tons of whitetails. I've killed tons of whitetails, and so it was always kind of like a whoa, what's next kind of thing, right? And then obviously,
Yeah.
like for any whitetail guy, there's that allure of going west and chasing elk and chasing mule deer and stuff. And I'd always felt that calling to go and try it, and so it just worked out that um, one of my dad's employees' family has a cabin out in this area in Utah. And so he was like, "Yeah, y'all come stay at the cabin. Like the place you'll be hunting, the start of the unit where you can start hunting is like 6 miles away from our cabin." And so we were like, "Perfect, sign us up. Like that'll be like that would like to me it felt like a perfect starting place, right? Like I knew someone who knew the area a little bit. I had somewhere to stay, and it wasn't just my first mule deer hunt, go out, sleep in a live out of your backpack, camp.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more controlled. Um,
It's a
so it
good
just felt like a
it's a good way to get your feet wet.
right, exactly. Yeah. So we went out there and we hunted for 5.5 days, 6 days, something like that. I forgot now. I'll have to go and count. Um, but yeah, we went out there. We did the whole public land Orange Army rifle hunt, which that was an experience. Uh, but yeah, it was a great spot to start learning and just a good first spot. I learned a ton. I was not able to get a mule deer buck, um, so but I don't want to say the trip was a waste because I didn't kill a deer. I think that sometimes in hunting and in life, you learn a lot, if not more, by failing or not reaching your goal. Um, And so I just took the opportunity to be out there my first time is, I had to remind myself, hey, dude, you're not Cameron Haynes. You're not just going to go kill everything every time you go hunt. Like, you're not that good. I don't know what I'm doing. It was my first mule deer hunt. And so I just tried to learn everything possible from every situation, right? So like we would get to us, I would look at my base maps on my phone and go, "Ooh, if this looks like a good spot, let's get to it." We get to that spot, and sometimes it wasn't a good spot, and I'd say, "Okay, well, why?" And I would look over it and ask myself, "Okay, well, why isn't this a good spot?" Right? What can I learn from being in the wrong spot to not be here anymore?
Right.
And then I would get to a spot, and it would be a good spot. And I'd say, "Okay, well, why is it a good spot?" And I just kept asking myself, trying to learn as much as I could from every situation.
Did you ever get the crosshairs on a mule deer?
I did not. I did not. We did not even see a mule deer buck while we were hunting. But there was some, come to find out, there was some extenuating circumstances that led to it being a weird year in that unit. Um, so we were talking with my dad's employee who lives up there. Um, and so he was saying that, it was a very, very dry summer. They did not get much rain up there. So a lot of those grass and forage was dead well before it usually is.
Yeah.
Um, they had gotten about 3 inches of snow like October 9th or 10th, which is like 2 weeks earlier than normal. Usually they don't get snow until like this time, like after that general season tag is over. So that season ended the 25th. He said they usually don't get any snow until like the end of that time frame, like the 20th through Halloween is when they're starting to get snow. So the fact that they had gotten snow earlier in the year, and then he said that because of COVID, there was far more recreational campers still in the area than there ever is. He said usually like in that area, there's people camping and doing the ATVs and four-wheeler camping thing. He said usually it's like June, July, August, and then start of September, there's no more campers. Anybody that's in there is hunting. But this year, those campgrounds still have lots of people in there. And so he said just it seemed as though from what I saw that the deer had moved off of the mountain and into private property ag fields that surrounded it,
Yeah.
and they were just living down in those ag fields. They weren't coming. They were no longer on the mountain.
I, that's kind of crazy. Just what COVID's done. Like how many people are, like you're saying, like all the recreational, like that. It makes
Oh
me
yeah,
what
dude. I mean,
it makes me wonder. Just kind of, we didn't get to go to Colorado this year because I had a baby that was due too close to elk season, so we didn't get to go. So it really makes me wonder what the traffic was like in the area that we went to last year.
yeah, and that's what. So so we were up there, and my dad's employee was there, and his dad lives in Salt Lake City and came out to the cabin with us, and he goes out there almost every weekend that it's nice. He goes like March through like the end of October when they start getting snow. He's out there like every weekend. He goes fishing in the lakes around there and stuff. And he said in the 30 years I've been coming here, I've never seen this many people out here before.
That's insane.
I mean, dude, like one morning we were leaving the truck to start hiking into the spot that I wanted to glass, and it was 25 degrees, and we probably passed like 10 RVs of just people camping.
Good night.
Like, dude, you're living in an
Seriously.
RV, like you're in an RV, and yeah, exactly. It's like he's like, there's never anyone still camping up here, and there was still tons of people in the area camping,
Well,
and
hell,
so it's just,
everybody's
yeah,
working
I don't
from
know.
home now. If you got a hotspot, you can be working from
Right,
Utah in the RV at the campground.
exactly,
God. So,
exactly. No, and where we were, there was a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of people everywhere though.
yeah. So earlier, like,
What was the other one?
you said that you didn't get a deer, and that's okay.
Right.
Like we went on our first elk hunt, we didn't get anything, but you learn a lot on these first trips. And so, just kind of taking the information that you have from this past year's hunt, are y'all looking to go back to that same unit? Or, is this going to be a yearly thing with you and your dad? Y'all are going to try and go on a backcountry hunt like this every year? Like what's next year looking like for you?
Yeah, I think the plan is for us to go back. Again, it was a general tag in Utah. It was super easy to draw. I mean, I think Go Hunt had the odds of drawing the tag at like 96%. So I mean, it wasn't like I was in this like exclusive unit or anything. I mean, it was just a real easy to draw tag. So I think that would, that's inviting to go back. But I think from what I learned is that there was a lot. I found a lot of older sign, what seemed to be, deer tracks and trails and scat that was several weeks old. Where it
Yeah.
was like, oh, the deer were here, but now that all this grass is dead in the snow, they've moved to where the food is. And so I think that I might take that information and try and take my bow and be up there earlier when there's still grass
Yeah,
and there's
probably go
still
like
stuff for them,
September or so.
right. Try to be up there earlier.
See, that's something I want to try next year. I know, like with us going on an elk hunt, the the unit that we were hunting last year in Colorado, they actually turned that unit. It used to be over the counter, but it actually now has turned into a draw unit. And
Right.
with the way the point systems and everything works in Colorado, we don't want to back ourselves into a corner by going to this one draw unit if we get drawn. So now we're looking at over the counter. And the one of the
There's
things we
pros and cons with that.
yeah, if we go over the counter, we've got all these different units that we can hop around to. We're not just solely stuck to
Sure.
one. So, like if we get back in there and we see sign like what you're seeing, where, you can tell they were there maybe back in June or July, but now they've transitioned to, they transitioned 1,000 feet in elevation, or they're not even there anymore. It allows us to
Right.
bug out and move as quick as we can.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Like I was thinking about that too. Is like I wish that was more of an option for me because it was very obvious within the first 3 days. I was like, oh, there's just no deer here.
How big
Like
was
if
the
we see a
unit?
buck, it's just gonna be dumb blood. I don't know. I'd have to go and look. I don't even remember how big it was. But I mean, we covered a lot of country and looking at stuff, but it was just from everything that we were seeing, they had moved to the private ag fields surrounding the unit. Which I mean, it makes sense, right? There's
Yeah.
grass for those cows that they're eating. There's no pressure from campers or people driving by, and so I wish we would have been able to have a little bit more freedom and to move around, um, to go try other places. That would have been nice.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like you said, man, like the main thing is, dude, like y'all got to go on that trip together. Like y'all are going to start a tradition that's going to go for years now, whether that's going back to Utah every year, but y'all can have something that y'all go do together every year because you only get so many hunting seasons. And so,
Right.
harvesting an animal that's like icing on the cake. Um
Yeah,
it's like we didn't I
for
didn't
sure.
I think the best thing for any, and I'm sure you can kind of attest to this, but the best advice for anybody that wants to go backcountry hunting, like they want to experience something new, whether it's mule deer, elk, moose, uh, whatever it may be, bear, they need to go into that first time hunt. If they're doing it solo DIY without a guide or outfitter, I think the best thing is to go into that hunt with no expectations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I tried to stay as much with that as I could. Like I said earlier, I went into the situation trying to learn as much as I could from every situation possible. And so it became a thing where it's like next year, if I go back, I've already eliminated 12 spots that I know don't go there. Right. They're not the way they look on the map. There's something a little different about them. Like go try this spot, and this spot because you already know those other spots aren't what they thought aren't what you thought they were. And so I took the approach of I'm going to learn as much as I can this year, and then next year I come back, I'll be able to have more of the goal of killing a deer versus just, oh, hey, it's cool. I'm here. Let me learn, right? Because you can go to a situation like obviously I was trying to kill a buck, but I had the expectations of I'm just gonna absorb as much as I possibly can. And if I get a buck, that's a cool bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, with us elk hunting, we had a hard time finding them the first 2 days. Um,
Right.
and then we got to our plan B and we set up camp and we probably took off about a quarter mile from camp. We found beds, fresh crap everywhere. and we knew we were finally in them. In the next couple of days, we got into some bugles. Had a couple of, I mean, we know they weren't Doug Fluties, as Dirk Durham calls them, other hunters.
Yeah.
Um, but we knew we
Doug
had elk
Flutie.
coming in, and then finally the last day we had, I think I had a bull. He was right at about 56, and he hopped down. My brother was behind me with a cow call, and he let a couple cow calls out, and that bull just hopped right down to 43. And frontal shots, I know in the whitetail world are pretty frowned upon, but it seems like now in
Yeah.
the elk world that it's like, oh yeah, just do it. There's plenty of stuff there for you to hit. And I look back on that now, it's like crap. I wish I would have freaking done that. Um,
Cool shot. Yeah.
yeah, but the fact was that was a hunt that was 15 in the years making for us, and just the fact that we got to go and do it and experience it, and we set up camp, stayed at the truck, slept under the stars. It was badass, and I can't wait to go back. Like hell, I can't even wait for us to go to Arizona in January.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm excited.
I'm really interested to see how freaking cold it's going to be. Like, are we going to have, some pretty mild temps, like low teens, high 50s during the day, or are we going to have a bunch of snow on the ground?
I don't know. I would imagine Southern Arizona will be pretty mild, but I don't know. I could be
Well,
way wrong.
it's like some of the stuff I've read up on that unit. Not going to tell everybody where we're going, but
Please don't.
the the stuff I've read up, it seems like it can either be a crap ton of snow or it's going to be bone dry and highs in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that. But
No, it'll be a lot of fun.
yeah, I can't wait. So kind of to transition away from your mule deer hunts, something I wanted to bring up was you shot yourself a little kitty cat this past fall, right? Or past winter. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. So
made the news and stuff.
back in January, I killed a mountain lion. Yeah.
Tell tell everybody about that.
I don't
Like,
know if I ever I don't know if I ever told you this though. So I shot my buck Sunday morning,
yeah,
and I shot that lion 45 yards from that tree stand the following Friday night.
bruh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you feel about that after you killed it?
Dude, I honestly like it took obviously like calling in a mountain lion and killing it is kind of surreal, especially in Texas. And so like but it took me a while to realize. I was like, dude, if I was in that tree stand, I could have shot that with my bow. Like it wasn't like it was probably like it wasn't that far from my tree stand. It was kind of spooky too. Think about like dude, that thing could have had me
Dude, that
walking
thing,
in and out the dark for the past week.
were you in a pop-up blind or a tree stand?
It was in a tree stand.
Dude, that booger could have been like just
I was
perched up like on a branch
dude, I
behind you,
was
just watching you, man.
dude, I could have that thing. I it wouldn't surprise me if that thing had saw me walking in and out of there in the night, like in the like early morning before the sun was up, or in the evening after the sun had gone down. Like I would not be surprised if it had seen me.
You can't trust cats, man. Cats, dude, mountain lions, they always look like they're plotting your death, but just like cats in general, they just have this look on their face that they're just trying to figure
Dude,
out
they're
different,
serial killers.
yeah, just different ways to kill you. That's why I never will own a cat.
No, dude. Even house cats are serial killers. You let a house cat go, dead birds everywhere, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude, like I'm sitting here right now at my desk and we've got a couple bird feeders. There were cardinals on it the other day. We got cats out here in the neighborhood and just freaking watch this cat just launch up and grab a cardinal off the damn feeder.
Yeah, cats are
Primal,
crazy.
primal, bro. So tell me about that hunt. Like what was going through your mind when that thing came in? Like how the hell did that even happen?
How it happened? Dumb
Yeah.
luck. For sure, dumb luck. I had a bunch. It was funny. I had a bunch of people like message me afterwards, like asking if I could take them on lion hunts. I'm like, dude, that's not how it works. Like I got lucky. Like, those like I should go buy 45 lottery tickets. Like that's never happening again. But no, so obviously like it was on the ranch that I guide hunts on, and all throughout the year We had heard lots of coyotes, in the morning when we're out in the blinds, or in the evening when we're watching deer. Um, we had killed a couple coyotes, and so we had some deer come up missing that we thought were killed by coyotes. We're like, man, we got coyotes everywhere. They're bad. Like, okay, we got to get out here and do some calling. Like, we gotta come kill some coyotes. And it was me and one of my buddies that helps me guide, a guy named Tyler. So we were out calling. We have a night vision scope that we use because I've been calling a lot and I love predator calling. If you're not using a night vision scope, you're not being the best that you can. You got to get night vision in order to be the best predator hunter you can.
Sure.
But we were using that night vision scope, and so the one that we were using, it creates a loop through your existing, so you can mount it on any gun,
Yeah.
and it runs a light through your scope, and then a screen picks up that light, so you can look at it on a screen. So I'm sitting there with the gun, and Tyler can sit next to me with the call, and he can see the screen too. And so we had pulled up into this field, the same field that I shot my deer in. Excuse me. And we started playing a cottontail distress call, just real simple, basic call. I don't like to hang out for a long time when we're predator hunting. I think if you don't see anything in 25 minutes, get out of there. You're wasting your time. So we had just gotten there. We hadn't been there very long, and we saw these eyes pop up from a bush, probably about 200 yards away from us. We just see the eyes. That's all we can see. Is too far to get any detail from it. The eyes are shining at us, and then it kind of ducks behind this bush and walks off. And we're like, oh, okay, there's probably a bobcat that caught our wind or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we sit there for a few more minutes, listen to the call, and then all of a sudden Tyler starts playing a female mountain lion call. And at first I thought it was a bobcat call. Like I thought it was a bobcat and heat, just kind of like a whiny cat sound. Trying to call that because we thought it was a bobcat. So we thought he was just trying to get that cat to come back to us. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, is that a bobcat? And he goes, no, dude, it's a mountain lion. I was like, I literally go, why the are you playing a mountain lion call? He goes, I don't know. I just wanted to see what it sounded like. And then I shit you not, dude, 30 seconds after he said that, we see these eyes pop up about 100 yards in front of us. And we're like, oh shit, okay. And it's coming towards us. And we think it's either a bobcat or a coyote that's just coming to the sound. And it didn't care that it changed noises. It's just coming to the cottontail that was playing. It's still just coming in to investigate. And it starts coming. And we're looking at it. I'm like, dude, that is a huge coyote. And he's like, yeah, that's big. And then we can, like, as it gets closer, it's probably about 75 yards. You can tell that it's not like hopping like a dog does. Like a coyote will like bounce like a dog runs. It's being real, its head staying in the same spot. And we're like, no, dude, that's the biggest bobcat in the world. Like this thing is huge. Like it's definitely a cat. And then it kind of tucks behind a tree out of our sight, but we still know it's coming towards us. And then it turns perpendicular to us and walks out from behind this tree. And we see its tail curl up behind it. And me and him just freaked out. Just, oh my God, like trying to stay quiet. We're like, dude, holy shit. Oh, just freaking out. And then it turns towards us and starts to stalk where the call is.
Yeah.
And I shot it right in the chest at 54 yards. And it fell over dead right there in the middle of the road.
Bro.
And then
54 yards.
All pandemonium broke out. Yeah, dude. 54 yards from us, and then probably 60 yards from where my tree stand was.
Dude, that thing was for sure sitting in the tree behind you, watching you while you shot that deer the day before, or that morning.
So when we first saw its eyes come out again, it was in the same batch of oak trees that my tree stands in. Like when we first saw its eyes coming towards us, it was, I don't know, 20 feet from the base of the tree I was going in every day.
Dude, I remember the night that I remember when you Snapchatted me pictures, and I get these snaps from you, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, so
you thought I was screwing with you too.
Yeah, I thought you were. I was like, so what? Somebody killed a mountain lion. Whoopee. And you're like, no, bro, I killed it. And then you sent me the picture of you holding him, and then like I think it was a picture of you laying down on the ground next to him, or your buddy. And I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, dude, you made the news out there where you live. Like, how many different news stations and podcasts were you on after that?
So I was on 3 different podcasts because of that. Um, Probably the one that anybody would know is the Lone Star Outdoor Show with Cable Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, he had seen the picture and reached out and wanted to have us on his podcast. So we did that one, and I did a couple other smaller local guys podcasts. But I had 5 or 6 news media outlets pick it up and try to run the story on it. And then I ended up telling like 3 or 4 of them no. Like 2 of them where I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then it kind of got out of hand, and like 3 or 4 more reached out, and I was like, no, don't run it.
Dude.
I was telling people no. But my buddy Tyler shared it on his Facebook. This is an interesting story too, because I've thought about this a lot afterwards. But he shared it on his Facebook, and his Facebook is public. And so everyone was sharing it, everyone could see it, everyone was commenting on it. And I think when it was all said and done, his post had like 4,000 shares and like 10,000 comments.
I remember seeing that, and there was like a crazy amount of likes.
It was not, I mean, yeah, it's probably, I think it was like 7,500 likes or 10,000 likes, something like that.
Dude, that that was
It was
insane.
crazy.
That was insane. I mean, and you're getting that thing mounted, right?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would
It was
have
crazy.
done.
I called the game warden. Like as soon as it happened, like we got back to the house and I had cell phone service. I knew the game warden. I'm friends with him. I called him. I was like, hey, dude, I just killed a lion like right out here, and he knows where we're at. And then he's like, cool, like thanks for letting me know. Like obviously, like it was legal. I didn't break any laws. I was just making him aware of it. And then Tyler's Facebook post kind of blew up the next day, and it was like, I mean, it was early the next morning. It was like 8:30 in the morning. He had texted me and goes, dude, I've had 5 people call me and try to report the illegal killing of a mountain lion out here.
Dude,
And
I'm
so he
glad
was like, he's had
I'm
to tell
glad you
people like,
brought that
oh, it's
up.
not illegal. Like he didn't do anything wrong. Like he had called me and talked about it. Like a lot of people thought it was illegal and were like trying to report me for like poaching or whatever. But that was kind of crazy, just how quickly word got to him. But back to what I was saying about his post, and I think that makes an interesting talking point. Um, is I think as hunters in a situation where something like killing a mountain lion comes up, where it's not, I think people have come to an understanding and they're okay with killing deer or elk and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Deer. I think killing a predator really strikes a lot of people the wrong way. They don't understand it. And Tyler's caption on that post was I don't think that he told the story in the right way. And I think that really hurt and caused a lot of drama that wasn't necessary.
Mhm.
Just because his post allowed people to interpret it the wrong way. And I wish that I would have like stepped up and like demanded him change it or make the post private.
Yeah.
Um, because I think as hunters, especially like I said with killing a mountain lion, it's very misunderstood. And so people see it and they see his story and his post not worded the best and not
Mhm.
in an understanding way.
Yeah.
And so that led a lot of people to be hateful about it. And so I think that especially killing a predator, and even as a hunter, I think it's very important that you make sure that I'm all for posting trophy photos. I think if you kill something and you're proud of it, you should post it. But I think that you need to put the right context around the story and how you post that picture, I think is important.
Yeah, you always need to respect the
Um,
animal. Like, I know when
right.
I used to work for Wade Middleton out in Southwest Texas towards Bracketville and Del Rio, one of the things that we were always had in the back of our heads was when we had clients that came out there, it was first time hunters, seasoned vets, whoever they were, we always made sure that, we were a national television production company, and so we always had to make sure that there wasn't a ton of blood on that animal. Tongues weren't sticking out.
Right.
Like you wanted to respect the animal and the trophy for that person and for other
Sure.
people that are going to see it, because it's just like you
Yeah,
said.
exactly.
It's, there's people out there that don't understand hunting. Um,
Mm-mm.
they don't understand it. They're ignorant about it, and they're going to hate on it. And I think probably the majority of the people that you had that lashed back on that post were those people.
Sure. But I think a lot of that could have been eliminated if we as hunters, when we share that photo, we make sure that the caption tells the story in the right way. And so like what a lot of
Definitely.
people don't understand is because the way he told us, so like Tyler's thing was is that he thought he had seen a mountain lion north of where we were about 40 miles. He thought he had saw one cross the road one night.
Yeah.
And he had tried to tell his dad and tell his he worked for the taxidermist here. And so he tried to tell people that he had seen one. Everyone told him he's full of crap. And so then in the post that he made, he kind of worded it to where like, I told you there's mountain lions in this area. And like
Ah,
if you knew Tyler and you were his friend, you understood what he was talking about. But to the outside world, it looked like he was just bragging about killing something, and he didn't tell the story of that animal in the right way. So it made it look worse to non-hunters than it was.
yeah.
And so I think that as a hunter, you need to be a storyteller, but also you need to do the animal justice and put it in the right perspective for non-hunters to understand it. And
Definitely.
I think if you went and saw his Facebook post and then you saw my story that I posted on my Instagram about it, like I'd written this big long caption that explained the story and what I felt was the right way. Um, and I think that as hunters, it's important that you do that you give context and you don't just go, oh, look at this giant deer I killed. And like you said, there's blood everywhere and its tongue's hanging out. And
It's
I think it's
disrespectful.
important because there are people who want to take away. Right. It's disrespect. It's very disrespectful to the animal. And it's also, there are people who would be more than happy to rid us our right of hunting.
Mhm.
And so like by doing that disservice and telling the story, you're giving those people ammo to fight us and take that right away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And so for those who don't know, we, obviously when we killed the lion, we realized that it wasn't the coyotes that were killing our deer and our exotics on this ranch. It was this mountain lion. And then a few months before that, there was a farmer out around us who had had two quarter horses get killed. And so we had estimated that this lion had killed anywhere from $40 to $75,000 worth of livestock in that area.
dude, it's funny you say that. Where y'all are located, I actually know another guy that's in that same area. Um, that I saw that whenever y'all posted this back, when was this? Back in January, February?
Yeah, it was
Um,
like January. I think it. I think I killed it January 24th, something like
yeah.
that.
It's funny
The end of
whenever
January. Yeah.
whenever y'all posted that, he actually commented on it, and I think he has, I think it was like 100 acres or so, relatively close to y'all's ranch, that he actually had about 15 head of sheep that had gone missing, and he had found them, and he swore up and down that it was a mountain lion, and nobody believed him until you killed
Right.
that cat.
Yeah, and so in calling when it happened and I called the game warden, I also knew the our county biologist. So the state has biologists all across the state that work with ranches and work with people in the outdoor space. And so our ranch has what you would call MLD tags. So it's tags that are issued from the state because they say, okay, your property is managed for deer. So we'll give you special tags that your hunters can use and that you can use.
Yeah.
And so she comes out there and she does all these counts and surveys and stuff like that. So I knew who she was. And so I called her as well. And she was real excited to be a part of it and she took a bunch of samples from the lion. So she took a bunch of measurements. When we were gutting it, she took she took all of the internal organs back to the state of Texas Wildlife Department so they can do research on it. Um, she took hair samples. She did a bunch of stuff, but she was telling me that it is the first confirmed sighting of a mountain lion in our county in 50 years.
Wow.
So there's a bunch of people like that farmer who's like, oh, mountain lions killed it, or like my buddy Tyler who says he saw one run across the road, and like people like that, and they go out there and they go, oh, well, we don't have any evidence. You can't confirm that it was, and so for me to have killed that lion was obviously 100% confirmation that there are breeding age mountain lions in our area. But it was the first confirmation in over 50 years.
That's insane. And we went to college out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, it was about we're about 35 miles from town where our
Yeah.
ranch is.
Yeah. God, that is freaking insane.
And it was, I mean, it wasn't like it was a small cat. Like it was a fully mature. He was 150 pounds.
Dude, I just remember when you held that thing up, I was like, "Holy!" Like you're a tall dude. Like you played college basketball, and when I see you holding
Right.
when I see you holding this cat up the way that you were, I thought, dude, that thing's freaking bigger than I am.
Yeah. So from its nose to its butt was 5'8", and then it had a 33-inch long tail.
God, dude,
I
that's a
mean,
freak.
it was huge, dude.
That's a big cat, man.
Yeah, and that's what. So Annalise, the biologist, she was saying that 150 pounds is big anywhere in Texas.
Yeah,
It's a big cat pretty much anywhere in the country. Like, there's spots in like Utah and Idaho where you can get like 200-pound cats, but like a 150-pound cat is a good sized cat like anywhere. Um, and she said to have one, that far east was unknown to them.
so, are y'all still having any kind of issues with any of y'all's deer or exotics being killed off? Like, do you think there's any other chance there might be more of them out there? Or?
We had asked the biologist that same question. Of course, everyone goes, "Oh, well, you killed a male. That means there's a female close." And her answer was no, probably not.
Wow.
So she said that the main cause of death in mountain lions is other mountain lions, and so the ones that you would see getting killed by cars or close to town, like mine was, um, those are what scientists would call a roaming male. So when they get kicked off of their mother kicks them off at about 1 year old. And so they go to find their own territory. And so obviously mountain lions cover a huge range. Their home range is huge. And so those younger males, instead of getting killed trying to take over a more mature male's territory, they end up moving closer to town. So those are the ones that you would see like killing agriculture or dogs or cats or getting running over by cars close to town. Those are those younger males that haven't found a territory. And so they've found that, hey, if I come over here, the other mountain lions won't try to kill me. And so that's what this one
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a younger roaming male. But she thinks that there would not be another one that close.
That's that's insane. It's crazy to think about the square mileage that those things can cover.
She said an adult male will cover 75 to 100 square miles. It's his home territory.
God,
And then an adult female would be 50 to 75 square miles.
that's insane. That's
But yeah, she
insane.
said that you'd never see them. She said that there's a biologist at Sol Ross out in Alpine who has been doing mountain lion studies for 21 years, and she's only trapped and tagged 10 mountain lions in 21 years. That like after finding all that out from her, it was even more surreal for me. That was like, dude, we like it wasn't like we caught it in a snare or I didn't run it over. Like we called it in,
All by
and like to
mistake.
do that, yeah, dude, on accident. And I was just like, this is nuts. And that's why my taxidermy bill is outrageous now.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I have to justify like, oh man, it's expensive, but like not many people can claim that they've done it how I did it. Like it would be one thing if you were like, use dogs in Idaho or Montana or wherever, but to call it in in what would be known as their eastern range, this is far east they've ever really seen them.
Yeah.
Um, It was nuts.
Dude. I wonder if we're gonna see any out in Arizona.
I've heard there's a guy that I follow on Instagram who does a lot of Coues deer hunts in Arizona, New Mexico, and he said he's seen like 40 or 50 of them while he's just sitting up glassing. He just sees them across the canyons.
Dude, that'll
That'd be
be
crazy if we saw one in
Would
Arizona.
you did you see that recent video on Instagram where it was like that dude was just out there on a happy-go-lucky nature trail hike and
Yeah, and then a
that
lion came after. I
dude,
did see
it
that.
like followed him for all the way up the trail.
They followed him a long ways.
What I want to know is like why it took him so long to throw a rock at the thing.
I don't know, dude. That would have been my first thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess maybe that's because I'm a hunter. So like if I see something like that, my brain immediately goes to what can I use as a weapon?
Dude, that guy was more concerned about filming it and cursing at it.
Yeah, yeah. I would have been. Dude, I would have thrown a 50-pound boulder at it. I would have thrown everything at it.
I would have been throwing more
I
than
would have
just
found a stick
rocks.
and just started. I would have thrown everything, dude. I would not have just walked away filming it.
That's insane. So I kind of want to make a transition, kind of start closing up this episode. But
Sure.
you and I are planning on going to Arizona, first week of January, over the counter mule deer tag with our bows. What what are some? I know we've talked about not having expectations going into some of these backcountry hunts for your first time, but what are some of your goals and expectations of this hunt when we go?
I think I would like to. I think my number one goal would be to at least put a stalk on a deer.
Yeah,
Right? To get there, to find a deer, and then to be able to at least have an attempt at it. I don't necessarily have to kill one, but I can at least say, okay, I went on a stalk. Like it got serious. Like I was ready to go. I think that's gonna be my goal of just trying to at least get on at least one stock, hopefully a couple.
yeah. And I think my thing too is, we'll both buy tags, but if one of us doesn't get a deer, but the other one does, I'll consider that a complete 100% success because it's going to be a team effort
Oh,
regardless.
absolutely.
And so
Sure. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
I think the one thing that we're going to have to figure out is who's going to be first shooter.
I call dibs.
Oh, bullshit. Bull.
Yeah, don't get mad at me, bro. You asked how, I just decided. I made the executive order.
No, we're going to play rock, paper, scissors or draw straws or something, bro.
I think the way I heard, I was listening to, I think it was Remy Warren's podcast, and he was
Yeah,
talking about hunting with buddies, and he said that the easiest way is whoever spots it first. It's like if we're both glassing and I see it, I get to go stalk it.
that makes sense because I know like for
Or
elk
if you,
hunt.
or if you, right.
Yeah, that makes sense because like I know what some guys do for elk hunting is they'll swap bulls. So, like if they don't have just a shooter who's shooting all day, they're trading off bulls. So if you got a bull that comes in hot, you shoot it, you shoot it. If not, then it's the next dude's turn. So
I think spotting it too, because that gives both of us incentive to actually pay attention when we're glassing.
yeah,
And not
for
just go,
sure.
"Oh, yeah, I bet Coop will find it, I'll go shoot it," or like, "Oh, Aaron will find it and I'll go shoot it." Like, no, we both have to be diligent and, because obviously I'm gonna wanna shoot a deer, so, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be looking for 'em.
Oh, for sure. Like, dude, me, like right now, I know that a lot of these mule deer, I've heard a lot of guys, you need to be prepared to take like a 60, 70 yard shot. And so I'm
Yeah.
not, like for whitetail, when it comes to whitetail season, I'm pretty consistently practicing in that 20 to 50 range. But dude, right now, like I'm confident with that right now, but I'm not even practicing under 60 right now.
Yeah, so one of the things that, you talk about guys going out west for the first time is kind of the basis of your podcast, and I think, obviously, I haven't killed an elk, I'm not an expert, but I think one of the things that you have control of as a hunter is your effective range and how accurate you are. And
Definitely.
that's one of the things that's why I love archery so much is that I have a place that I can shoot. I go and shoot, and I shoot at long ranges. Like you said that you shoot 20 to 50. I almost never shoot under 40. Like the first shot I shoot I try not to shoot 40. I try to shoot
Yeah.
40 to 100 every time. For that reason is like when I do have that chance on an elk or a mule deer, I'm not going to be limiting myself. My ability is going to be as best as it possibly can be for maybe that one encounter. Like you said, that you had that bull at 53 yards. Like
Yeah.
if he'd have been broadside and you go, oh man, I've only shot to 30 yards. Like I never want the excuse to be, I'm not comfortable shooting. I'm not as accurate as I want to be. So like I try to never shoot under 40. But then when I'm whitetail hunting and it's a 20-yard shot, it's like, oh, I shoot at 40 every day. 20 is easy.
Yeah. And it's like, what I'll do, because since I've been shooting at that far distance now, what I'll do, I may throw the target out at 24 just to check myself before I start dropping bombs out there. And then
Right.
the other thing I've really found myself doing now is um my confidence level at 60 is super high now. Whereas
Right.
before, a year, 2 years ago, it's like, yeah, I can hit it, but like I'm putting really good groups at 60 now and
Mhm.
just poking out there at 70, 80. And so I know that going into that hunt, I want to know that if I have a mule deer at 53 yards broadside, has no idea that I'm there and I'm able to execute a shot, I want to know that that shot's going to be perfect.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's important. Again, I'm not an expert, but I think it's important for a hunter is like you may only have one elk hunt for 7 days every year.
Yeah.
Shoot your bow every single day leading up to that. So when you get in that situation, you go, oh man, it's 61 yards. I can't shoot that far.
Yeah.
But you
I
have
don't,
7 days.
yeah.
You have 350 other days to be at home to make sure that you can shoot at 60 yards.
Hmm.
So like when you get in that situation, like you've given yourself the most, you give yourself the biggest opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we did a podcast with Dan Staten from Elk Shape a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that
Hmm.
he constantly preached on was doing something every day in the name of better elk hunting, whether that's
Right.
doing a couple burpees in the living room or just taking 6 shots in the garage because you got home at 9 o'clock from a long day at work and that's the only thing you could do. You're at least doing it to get better. And
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
just super key because I know like I've owned my own archery shop and I've worked in archery shops and you know it would make me cringe when I had guys that would come in 3 days before opening morning of whitetail season or elk or whatever they
Right.
were going after, and they come in like, "Oh yeah, I haven't touched my bow since January," and it
Right.
it, it makes me cringe. I'm just like, seriously, man, like you're about to go, like that's disrespectful to the animal. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. It really bugs me to see that because it always works out that that's the same guy who you see posting on Facebook about how he shot a deer and didn't recover it.
Yeah, and it's
Or
like, what?
that's the guy that or that's the guy that blames his broadhead. Oh, my broadhead didn't open, or it's always some issue when it's like, no, man, you've only taken 7 shots before you tried to kill an animal.
Yeah,
Like if you're gonna take something's life, you owe it the respect to be as best as you possibly can be.
yeah, and it's like I know it's
I think
hard.
that.
I know it's hard to shoot
Oh
every
yeah,
day. Like, I think what was it? You remember back in March, I did like that 30 days no excuses challenge. Um, it
yeah,
was hard. I mean, but
oh yeah,
I got it done. But it's just like if you're shooting a couple times a week, so you're familiar with your equipment and know what you're doing, um, then there's no, I mean, there's no question when it comes down to the wire. There's no question.
right. Yeah, I think too. Like you have to understand like how you're hunting. If you only bow hunt for whitetails out of a tree stand, and your furthest shot's going to be 25 yards, just shoot 100 arrows a week at 25 or 30 yards.
Yeah,
Like
that's all
that's,
you got to do.
I mean, it's not like you have to put just this exuberant amount of time into it. Like 100 shots a week, it's not that many shots. Like you can do 100 shots in a week,
Yeah,
and then it's at 25 yards, so that's the farthest you'd ever have to shoot. But at least like you have confidence in yourself and in your system before you try and take something's life. I think that's
Exactly.
super important as a hunter.
Yeah. Practice taking those shots, practice in the gear that you're going to be hunting in. Sit down if you're going to be sitting down in your stand, stand up if you're up in a ladder stand. You need to recreate your hunting situation when you're practicing.
Hmm.
And,
Absolutely.
and I think too many guys don't do that. And they just find themselves making too many mistakes. I mean, I've made mistakes as a bow hunter. I mean, any bow hunter has. If there's a bow hunter out there, it's like, oh, I've never missed, or they're probably lying. So,
Right.
I mean, hell, I bounced an arrow off a deer's back last year because I used the wrong pin, and
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and that was
No,
my fault.
I did that to a deer, and that's why I switched to the single pin.
Yeah, and that's
I
and that's
shot
I had
I
the
shot
same
I
problem.
shot over a deer's back. There was a deer at 30, and I threw my 40-yard pin on it, and I watched this arrow go 2 inches over its back.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, I used the wrong pin."
Yeah. See, I was using the Fast Eddie 5 pin, and
Yeah.
it was just too much. And so now I'm shooting the Black Gold Ascent Mountain Light 3 pin, and so I really love that
See, I
thing.
wanna try that one. I think I might. I think the 3 pin might be good for me.
I
I need
really
to try
like
that.
it because you've got the dual indicator system for your top pin and your bottom pin, and then you can basically set your
Right.
second pin for any gap that you want. So I've got mine set at a 15-yard gap for my second one. So that way, if I draw back, spook an animal, and it kicks out 15 more yards or 16, then I don't have to mess with redialing. I can just put that second pin on
Sure.
him.
Yeah, I think I might have to try the 3-pin housing. I think that could be beneficial.
I like,
It might be small enough that it doesn't mess with my brain.
well, and
And
I
I could
like,
also just be far better of an archer where I'm just better
yeah, and I like it too because
now than I was.
it's lighter than the Fast Eddie stuff too. And I'm not dogging
Yeah,
on
but
Fast
those
Eddie
spot
because I
hogs,
like
they're
them.
bulletproof. Those things are bulletproof. I've never shot the black gold, but those spot hogs are bulletproof, dude.
Yeah, they
Like
are.
I could have a nuclear bomb go off and that thing would still be set to my yardages.
Yeah. All right, so I got one last question for you before we end this thing,
Uh-oh.
because we're both gonna be going mule deer hunting together. Onyx
Okay.
or base map?
Dude, you know how I feel about this.
Tell me
And
why. Tell the listeners why.
let me explain myself. Okay. So I don't know the exact numbers for Onyx, but I know them for base map. Base map has 800 different layers that you can put on a map. It can work offline, same as Onyx. It from my understanding of both of them, they are more or less the exact same thing, except base map is 70% of the cost. Base map is $34.99 for a year-long membership with every state and 800 layers.
Okay. Okay.
And Onyx is what, 100, 150
No,
for the elite membership?
no,
Did
it's
they
way
come
over.
down?
Yeah. So I'm an Onyx guy, and
Okay.
I've downloaded base map and I've played with it. And here's the thing that I've noticed. So I like base maps map. It's a little bit clearer. I do like it.
I was gonna say I put that post on my Instagram and I noticed that you didn't vote on it.
Because I saw that and I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna download this thing and see if he's just not freaking screwing with me. And he screenshotted it when it was bad Wi-Fi or something.
No,
So
dude, it is the base map is a clearer map.
I will give base map that. It does have a clearer map. But the thing I don't like about it when trying to use the different layers, it's a pain in the butt, dude. Pain in the butt. I don't like it. Um, and I'm looking at Onyx's website right now. They've got over 420 um, layers and counting. They've
Mhm.
got 985 million acres of public land, and they've got over 9,500 different units on there. And then the other thing I like about it, it's game warden approved because of the boundaries. Like when it comes to public land, that's super essential. And so,
Oh, I got you. But if you're a hunter and you claim that you're using Onyx, the game warden, would respect you. Like, would
Yeah,
respect
and
your take on it. I gotcha.
right, but also at the same time, like disclaimer here is like I'm not telling anybody that Onyx is going to get you out of trouble. Like if you're on private property and you shoot a deer that you're not supposed to shoot, or you're on somebody's property you're not supposed to be on, Onyx is not
Yeah.
going to save your butt. Um,
Right.
but just from playing around with the two, I'm still on Onyx's side. I really do like it. I know there's a lot of whitetail guys that like base map because it has like the whole wind feature, the weather feature, and stuff like
Little wind
that.
feature. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but Onyx is, to me, in my opinion, it's more it's for the backcountry Western hunter.
Yeah. I don't know. I also like too that base map. I can select the size of map that I want to download.
Yeah, you can do
So
that
I
on
can
Onyx
zoom in
too.
as far as I want. Oh, you can? Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah,
So you can zoom in as far or as zoomed out as you want to when you download it. It's not a specific size map.
yeah.
And Onyx may have changed too. I haven't had an Onyx membership in, that's probably 2 years ago. I had one. I had the Elite membership. Um,
You got to go
so
get it now.
they might have changed. Whenever I got it, the Elite membership was like everything that you said for all 50 states was like $149.99.
Oh, it's not even that.
Um,
It's not even that anymore.
Oh, okay. Because base map is, yeah, base map, you get all 50 states, all units in every state, and then a whole bunch of and then obviously all the 800 layers for like $35 per year.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it does whenever we go to Arizona.
Yeah.
But well, man, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I know, like, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and life's been happening with me, baby
You
coming up
kept
the
giving me the
picture.
runaround, dude.
Bro, when you got a new baby, you got a
Yeah,
new
dude,
baby.
you just kept bringing up all of these excuses. Like,
Oh, dude,
Jeez.
this mule deer hunt is gonna be like, even if my brother can go too, if he can get off of work and all that good stuff, if he can even make it, but just like this mule deer hunt is gonna be freaking hilarious.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And there you have it, folks. Another episode. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to smash that like button, follow button, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next time.